All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and kick it off. So thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, Distinctively You, a conversation around women in construction technology. Today's event is sponsored by Avicado Construction Technology Services. We are an eBuilder certified partner. Our team of experts provide training, process automation, managed services, and more to help improve an organization's experience with eBuilder. My name is Jackie. I'll be hosting today's panel. And on behalf of Avicado, we're really excited to be participating in this conversation. We have a lot of great questions lined up, and our panel is incredibly seasoned in this industry with over 60 years of combined experience. So with that, I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Juanita, would you like to kick us off and get started? Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Juanita Rangel, and I work with the Howard Hughes Corporations. I am the Senior Systems Analyst for our IPMIS system, eBuilder. I have been with the Howard Hughes Corporation for about 6.5 years. I do have many years of construction industry experience. I did start off on the accounting side of things, and then about 4 years ago, I moved over into the technology side. So in my current role, I am responsible for maintaining workflows, managing, change control processes, handling the day-to-day, support and troubleshooting within the eBuilder platform, and also taking ownership in all technical aspects of eBuilder, which includes integrations and implementation.
Perfect, thank you. And Jessica, would you like to go next?
Yes, hello, my name's Jessica Clark. I'm currently at Facebook. I've been in the tech industry for less than 2 years. Most of my time was spent in oil and gas, doing construction projects and bringing up hydrogen processing power plants. So a lot of my experience primarily was heavily on the construction side before I turned over to do reliability optimization for operations at data centers at Facebook. My background is more on the electrical engineering side, where I started off as an engineer designing substations and then commissioning them, to now where I do more of like the reliability aspect of data centers. Really happy to be here today.
Perfect, yeah, thanks for being here. Rebecca, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Fiorentino, and I am currently with Avicado as a systems administrator at the Chicago Transit Authority, which is CTA here in Chicago. Prior to that, I was working on an implementation for a software that at the water department, the Chicago Water Department. And prior to that, I was in the construction industry with more program controls related jobs.
Perfect. And Raquel.
Hello, everybody. Raquel Benedict, work for the City of Charlotte. CATS, which is the Charlotte Area Transit Systems. I'm the eBuilder administrator. Working title, the Business Systems Specialist. My background is in landscape construction, roadway construction, greenways, and I actually worked in Los Alamos at the nuclear facility for part of a year, where we did nuclear waste construction. And since then, I've been back with the City of Charlotte for, well, since 2013, doing procurement and project controls, and now the eBuilder administrator.
Awesome. And Doreen?
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Doreen Salama. I'm currently a co-founder of Grips. That was after a journey of implementing construction technology on different projects. So I started off as a structural engineer, and then I did my master's in civil engineering, focusing on AI in construction. At the time when I graduated, there wasn't much AI being implemented in construction. We're still in the beginning now. So I focused on implementing new technologies such as BIM or cloud-based applications on different projects, mostly large projects in the New York area, like LaGuardia or Javits. And then I went on to pursue my MBA. And while I was doing that, I got the idea for Grips, and that's what I'm working on right now.
Awesome. And we also have Molly here from Avicado helping me out as well.
Jackie, and hi everyone. Thanks for joining. We're so happy to have you. today. My name is Molly Levine, and I'm the head of HR for Avicado. So we are so excited to have you a part of this conversation. I wanted to let you know that my role today will be manning the Q&A. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask the panel directly, please feel free to type it in the Q&A box, and I will direct it to the panel. So we look forward to getting the discussion started, and hopefully you all can engage as well. Thanks.
Perfect. Well, yeah, thank you everyone for being here today. We're super excited about this. So let's jump right in. So today we'll be talking about mentoring, balancing work life, and standing out. We'll be talking through some of our panel's experiences and their story, and then also navigating through kind of some advice and some best practices in this industry. So let's start with our first topic, mentoring. The percentage of women in construction overall has hovered somewhere between 9% and 10% since 1996 and is currently at 9.9%. So you can see that women are kind of underrepresented in this industry, and it can be really intimidated to enter this field. So we'll go ahead and get started and kind of find out from our panel how they got into this field and how it's changed over the years that they've been involved in it. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll right now, just asking you if you have a mentor or not, if you're currently looking for one, just to kind of gauge, where everyone's at in this conversation. So you'll see that appear on your screen. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Juanita, do you want to talk a little bit about how you got started in this industry and how it's changed over the years?
Yeah, so I actually got started in the industry like quite a bit ago. But like I said, I kind of started in the accounting, but in the accounting field, you'll see, I think more women, but then when you kind of move over, I know as far as like into technology, there's not so many women in there, and it's very male predominant. So you do kind of have to find your way to kind of, stand out in it. I do see things in just, I want to say the last couple of years where I'm starting to see more women come into it, which is great. I think there's a need for it. I just think we bring a different kind of perspective, to the industry. So I think it's always good when we take that step or we're provided that opportunity, and then we just kind of stand out and show what we can bring to the table.
Yes, absolutely. Jessica, do you also want to share a little bit about your experience?
Yes. So the way I got into commissioning substations is more so I knew if I was going to go into a field that was difficult and where I was going to be intimidated often, because I didn't see a lot of people like myself in the teams I would work in, I had to be passionate about it, because there was going to be so many days that I would feel demotivated, and even having like that imposter syndrome that it's like I don't deserve to be in this role, or I'm not like good enough for that task. So I knew I had to find something that I was passionate about. So I found something that I knew I was going to have a foundation in that I would really enjoy, and that was electrical engineering. I grew up in a really small little town in Mexico where there was no electricity. And one thing that really attracted me to getting an electrical engineering degree was like, I want to provide electricity to my village back in Mexico. So with that passion in me of trying to give back, it really instilled the excitement around bringing electricity to places. So when I ended up going into the oil and gas industry, I was creating new processing plants where we can get that reliable energy resource to folks so that they can get to work, for example. So it was more like I ended up being in it because I was really passionate about giving back to my community, but I ended up finding out that I was really more passionate about allowing people to do what they need to do on a day-to-day. And then with Facebook, it's more around me connecting, allowing people to connect with each other, which is another passion of mine because it's really instilled in my family. So a little bit about like how I got into the industry.
Wow, yeah, thanks for sharing. That's a really interesting story. Raquel, would you like to also share?
Yeah, so my take's a little bit different. I moved up in a position, what I'm currently doing at the city of Charlotte, and the new girl that basically took my old position was brand new to the department within the city. She was brand new to the industry being construction. She was brand new to her title as a construction manager, and she was also brand new to the software that we're using. Predominantly for the project software is eBuilder. We're using Adobe a lot at a higher level, and now we're implementing and bringing on Bluebeam. So I just thought it was important kind of to take her under my wing, provide her some guidance, help with her professional development, give her some advice. We report directly to the deputy director, so who, you know, like most of us, probably our bosses are all super busy. So she didn't really have anybody to look out for her. So I just kind of took that role upon myself. I wanted to help her improve her personal skills, to be able to help her improve in her development of leadership skills and have exposure to these new tools and the new idea of construction together. And it's worked out well. She's just graduated with her bachelor's in business administration, and I'm pushing her to get into PMI to get her PMP certification also. Everything I can help push her and learn is going to help her down the road be a better construction manager, project manager.
Yes, definitely. That really shows, you know, the importance of having a mentor and somebody looking out for you and advocating for you, which leads to the results of the poll, which are pretty interesting. So I'll go ahead and share those. We'll see that the majority, you know, do not have a mentor, 53%. So yeah, let's definitely talk a little bit about finding a mentor and how it's important. So Rebecca, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with having a mentor?
Sure. So I got into the industry kind of in a unique situation. I actually have a background in journalism. So really when I got into the industry, I was looking more to be more marketing and everything. And I was so lucky that I had a few women leaders, and that really just took me under their belt and really showed me what program controls was and all the different capabilities that I had, especially in regards to construction management and software. So I still to this day, every career move that I make, I always reach out to them first, and they really give their honest advice. And it's just been really nice to have that. And I hope that I can be that for somebody as well, because, you know, when you think about, especially women, you think that they have this like tensions relationship between each other, but it's really not that. It's really, especially in this industry, I feel like it's more so building each other up and really watching out for each other and really making sure that we all succeed together.
Awesome. Yes, it's really great to hear, you know, about women uplifting other women. So Doreen, is there anything that you'd like to add as far as, you know, how they've helped you along your journey?
Yeah, of course. I think that one huge thing, I think, as I listened to everyone's experiences, I think one huge thing for me was someone that takes a chance on you very early on. I think my experience was that I felt like I had a lot to add, and I knew I had a lot to add. But when you're in a room, I remembered vividly the LaGuardia proposal, for example, for our company, and being in the room, all older white men. And then I was there, and then saying, you know, someone took a chance on me in that room and said, well, Doreen's the project controls manager for us. And, you know, I could feel the doubt and, you know, other people in the room saying, you know, like, are you sure? Are you sure she's ready? Are you sure she should be there? And I think all you need sometimes is someone to take a chance on you. And then on the mentoring side, like these moments get you started, and then I think it's up to us as well to kind of seek the advice at the appropriate time. I think it's important to have someone both inside the company that you trust and also outside. I've had both men and women support me. I think that also on the client side, I've had, you know, someone from Massport. Actually, she was an amazing role model for me. I think that she had that kind of technology approach to construction, and she was a sounding board for me, you know, throughout different career moves, academic moves, all sorts of things. And I think it's important also to have someone inside the company that vouches for you so that you can get, you know, the right promotions and be put in the right positions as you go along.
Perfect. Yes, that's definitely all kind of in line with, you know, finding a good mentor, and then also transitioning a little bit to becoming a mentor, and, you know, being in the position of taking a chance and advocating for others. You know, does anybody want to go ahead and kind of talk about becoming a mentor and something that they've done or opportunities that they see? All right. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so it's interesting, like when I first got into the industry, I really did not know what corporate America was. Growing up in a Hispanic household, none of my relatives or aunts and uncles or grandparents were ever in corporate America. So they had no idea what that meant. So with mentors, it was just such a key thing to have at the beginning of my career. And even just talking about like career progression. Usually when like women get together, we tend to talk about like shopping, family, other things that are not necessarily like career progression discussions, where men tend to have more of those conversations. So earlier on, like I seeked that knowledge about how to operate and go through corporate America to find success and build a career within it. So it was really important in terms of like getting a mentor, just because work politics is another item. I wouldn't have not known a lot of like how to communicate effectively or what job openings or job opportunities might exist if I did not talk to mentors. Something that I do, especially with women and even minorities, is have those conversations with the new people in the company that come in and ask them if there's any questions they have specifically on like how to search for job opportunities or even work politics or even how does influencing work in this company. Because that's a lot of the stuff that we have to do is influence others to do a certain job or task. So I just can't emphasize enough how informal mentoring like really helps in terms of progress your career and even build community and allow you to have a greater job satisfaction in the long run.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's some really great advice and really good points there. Well, perfect. So before we jump into our next topic, anything anybody else wanted to add?
What I was just going to say is being an e-builder administrator, and part of the job, right, what we do every day is we're training others to use the software. I think if you're a good trainer or good at what you're doing, you all of a sudden become a mentor because people start looking up to you because you're a little more seasoned with the software. If you train in the correct way, where they feel comfortable with you and your style, they're going to come into your office more. They're going to ask you questions about the software, which is going to lead into other discussions. And for myself, that happens quite often. I spend more time training and making, helping people become better with a tool so they can be better at their job than I do actually doing the other half of my job, right? Because I think it's that important for them. So that just leads me into becoming a natural mentor. And that may happen with some of you, it'll just naturally happen.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point as well. Perfect. Well, yeah, thank you everyone for sharing on that. And let's go ahead and jump into our next topic, balancing work and life. When talking about balancing work and life, I came across this interesting wheel. And so it's called the Wheel of Life, and it's different for everybody. So what you do is you would assign, different categories for each piece of the pie that are important to you. You can see here, you have career, you have family, you have social life, and what you do is you rank kind of where they fall for you on, 0 being towards the center of the circle and something that you're neglecting, and 10 being on the outside of the circle, something that you're doing an extraordinary job as giving a lot of attention to. And what you want to do is, have like a nice smooth circle that you can kind of roll through life, as opposed to like one with jagged edges and you kind of have a more difficult time. So yeah, this is something you can do at home with a pen and paper to really just kind of assess where you're at. And what makes it really unique is that it's different for everybody. Everyone's going to prioritize different things. So I think when we talk a little bit about work-life balance, it's good to know like what balance is for each person. So let's start by defining it. Rebecca, we can start with you. I know you are at hockey practice in the morning sometimes before even getting to work. So what does balance look like for you?
Yeah, balancing is always hard for me because it's making sure that my kids, have their schoolwork done, all their sports done, plus that I'm working, plus that I'm finding time for myself. So I always am struggling with balance. So I definitely have to, right from the beginning, I always say family comes first. So I do find myself working a lot on the weekends, so that I can catch up for the week, or I work late at night so that I don't ignore my kids during the day. So just trying to find that balance and just making sure that they're equally as important to my work is one thing that constant struggle.
Mm-hmm. Doreen, what about you? What are some of the challenges that you face?
So I think that balance changes throughout the different phases of life. I think that's something very challenging for me. I think not just because like career opportunities, but also because I'm from Egypt, and I live in New York, and that's very challenging, right? Of like when to visit family, where do you take your vacations, who do you prioritize? Now you've got like community in a certain location and community somewhere else. I think that initially I decided, so in the earlier portions of my career, I decided, you know what, it's okay that for the beginning, you work as much as you can, you work really, really hard, and you work long hours. I think at that point you're capable. You can run more with less sleep, essentially. So I kind of prioritized that consciously, and then later on, I think 7 years into my career, I decided, it's time that I kind of slow it down a little bit and make sure that I have time for family, for friends, and then obviously like traveling also to Egypt. And I think that I really don't regret that decision. I really I'm very proud of how kind of diligent I was there. I made sure that I take my vacations. I made sure that I go visit my family in Egypt. And my father actually passed away in December, just last December. And I really kind of, didn't have regrets in terms of, not being here, because I was here. It was over Christmas break. So I think that just prioritizing family so that we ourselves are comfortable in case anything happens, that we did our best. And I think that over the different phases of life, I think that it's important to have these conversations with family, to be transparent that, over the coming year, I'm doing startup. So I'm going to have a lot of work, and I'm going to work long hours, and I may or may not be there for certain commitments. I think transparency, making sure that people understand why we're not there, if we're not there at times, I think that's important, kind of keeps everyone comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's all really great points, and you definitely touched on how it is, what's important to you, and making sure that you make time for what matters, which is definitely really great. So we'll kind of jump into the next one, which is, how it affects your physical and your mental health. So Juanita, do you kind of want to share how you prioritize, what's, good and healthy for you, and some of the challenges that you're facing when you're trying to find balance?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, it's kind of, where you say jagged edges, that's kind of where mine goes in. And I think it's just kind of the situation that you're in. And it could be, what's brought to you as far as in your work. Sometimes there's changes that happen. So work sometimes has to take the forefront because you may be the only person. So like for me, back in December, we kind of had an organizational change, and I became the lone person for our eBuilder platform. So I really had to be available because we have like 1,300 users. So that's internal and external. So in some cases like that, I mean, I kind of have to find a balance where, as Doreen was saying, you kind of have those talks with your family, and you have to know, okay, well, I'm limited to what I can do here. So don't get your feelings hurt if there's something that I can't attend, or, if I'm not going to be able to be there, because I have that going on with work. And then I'm also in school as well, like finishing up my degree. So then I have that, and then I also have a son. So it's just, you have to try and find what works and what, balances. And so when it comes to mental health and physical health, sometimes you're drained, but you still have to find that push to keep going because you do have other things that you need to take care of. So, it's very important, it's to kind of find where that lies and where you have to kind of say, okay, stop, let's breathe, kind of regroup, because you do get to that point where you overwork yourself, even with the circumstances that there are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thank you for sharing. That's definitely a lot going on, and finding a way to balance it all. It's definitely very difficult. And as you mentioned, But yeah, so Jessica, how about for you? I know that your title has the word global in it. I'm sure you're getting emails at all hours of the day. So how do you kind of manage that?
Yeah, I've always thought about work-life balance more in the sense of like work-life integration, because I knew there was no way that I was going to be able to balance every single aspect of my life. So I needed to find a way to integrate it. So part of one of my hobbies is travel. So I wanted to have a role where I can travel around the world, at the same time do what I enjoy doing. So part of my role is to do travel to all Facebook data centers, and I love it, but it's so exhausting at the same time. So I have to be like very careful of making sure that I have boundaries, because boundaries are just something that I had to quickly learn that I needed in my life to be mentally and physically healthy. So I do have to set certain work hours outside of like, can't book during this time. This is when I'm going to the gym, or I have to take a lunch, because it's really easy to have like back-to-back meetings all day, especially when working throughout time zones, where Singapore might be an 8 o'clock meeting, and then Dublin's going to be a 6:30 a.m. meeting for me. So I can have really long days. But setting those boundaries has been instrumental in both boundaries and my family life, because my family just likes to come in and out of my house whenever they want. They never get like a heads up. But setting like boundaries both personally and professionally have really helped me with my physical and mental health. And taking those days, PTOs, even if you're just going to stay at home, take that PTO day off. It's so nice just to have a middle of the week break when you know it's going to be a very hectic week.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah, so that kind of leads into the staying balanced and the importance of it, as you touched on, which is, super important to make your wheel nice and smooth. But Raquel, do you want to share some tips that you have for staying balanced and some of your experience as well?
Yeah, currently working at home is a challenge, as my dog has come and jumped on my lap and brought the ball to me, and I keep shutting my video off because she keeps running in and out and jumping around. So we have to find a balance sometimes with that. I'm kind of like Jessica, where I might just sit here at 7 o'clock and then it's 4:30 and I forgot to eat lunch and the only thing I had was coffee. So I've kind of made a new thing about 11 o'clock every day. I just get up and go outside. I planted a little garden this year because, we're almost 100% remote. So I got a little garden. I go out and kind of do a little nature walk and just it's a mental, physical break, and it's a balance, just to get out of the house, get the dog out of the house. I don't have kids, so I don't have that interruption. I don't have to run to camps and, soccer and all that other stuff, but there's a balance of just what we do. I'm also like, I think Juanita, I'm the single e-builder admin. I go on vacation, the only one to look out. So I'm on vacation, making sure everybody can get signed in or logged in. Nobody's expired. There's no crisis. There's no fire. But you also have to maintain a positive attitude, right? You go with the punches sometimes. And yeah, sometimes we're swamped, and sometimes I just laugh about it because there's just me. I'm going to get through it. I prioritize what I can do. I still take that day off or half a day off to go sit at the pool and just find, like you're saying, that balance. Train the people that need it, try to help the people and put out the biggest fires first, and then it's tomorrow, and then we'll do it again, So that's kind of my balance. I don't know if there's any tips other than, just take that little break for yourself when you need it, because nobody else is going to look out for you. You have to do it yourself. Now that we're remote, also, you got the Skype running all day long. You can see everybody going red and green, and oh my God, I don't want my light to go red because everybody's going to know I'm not looking. I can't worry about that. I'm here doing my job. I'm getting my work done, so I don't worry about them little lights. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course. I think you bring up a really good point with working from home and how it can be kind of, much more difficult to separate the two and take those breaks. But is there anything anyone else would like to add as far as work-life balance?
I do want to add, just to be on the more, just the matter of the fact is that being a woman in construction or even tech, you are going to have to work harder than other of your peers, especially when you're trying to establish yourself. And it's just, there's going to be bias. We can't get around that. There's going to be bias against your age, your gender, overall unconscious bias that folks have. So when you're trying to build credibility, like your work-life balance is gonna suffer in the sense. I remember when I was first 17 going into not 17, 21, going into the oil and gas industry as a construction engineer, I really had to build my credibility. So I had to really be there earlier than everybody else, leave later, just to make sure that I knew the project better than anybody else. Reasoning just because I was building credibility. So the matter of the fact is, like, there are going to be those biases that we have to overcome, being female and some of us being minorities in the industry. So we are going to have to work a little harder than our counterparts. But just knowing that and making sure that you do take those breaks is very important, because you are going to burn yourself out if you don't.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really good point, and that there's, an added pressure in there. Doreen, I think you had raised your hand. Did you want to add as well?
Yeah, I think I attended a talk that something was said in that resonated with me, and then that's setting goals for yourself, just like you have professional goals, setting those personal goals and kind of being clear about it, and setting these checkpoints where you kind of, look back and check, have I taken my vacation days? Have I, taken weekends off, or like a day on the weekend off? Or have I, whatever it is that you chose for yourself to focus on, whether it's physical, mental health, or anything else, like, have I really focused on that? And sometimes it's also interesting and helpful to have a buddy, whoever. It could be a friend, a mentor, a coach, a sibling, whoever, a partner, whoever that is, to kind of keep you accountable and kind of call you out on certain things that you wanted to do for yourself, but you kind of, again, got carried away with work and, forgot to focus on, physical health, for example.
Yeah. And Jackie, before we move on, I wanted to bring up a point that was brought up in the Q&A that I think is really helpful to share on this topic. Tiffany said around the importance of setting boundaries, that we tend to volunteer ourselves more than our male counterparts. And that's just a part of our nature. And she said she loves saying no allows others to be self-reliant, which I think is a really great point that Tiffany brought to the table that I wanted to share with the entire group.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. I think that's a really good point. Absolutely. Perfect. Well, let's jump into our next topic, and that's going to be standing out. So I think this is a nice place to kind of transition to knowing that, we have to take breaks and all that, but now let's jump out, let's stand out as well. So in the United States, only 7.2% of women worked full-time in male-dominated occupations in 2018. I just want to call to attention, how unique that is, and for, so many people in the audience, and of course, like our panelists as well, that have built such strong careers in this industry. I want to commend you and say that's an amazing feat. So I wanted to kind of jump in on some of the stereotypes that we're facing and some of the challenges that a woman in construction technology comes about. So let's kind of ask each panel member what the biggest challenge they've faced is, and then we can kind of go through, addressing them as well. So Raquel, do you want to start off with the biggest challenge you faced?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jackie. So most of you guys are a little bit younger than me. I'll be 54 this year. So I don't even know when I was getting into project management and construction. Maybe you guys were not born yet. I'm not even sure. But a challenge back in the 80s and not the 80s, in the early 2000s was it was an all dominant male in the construction and definitely in the green industry with landscaping. I remember a time going out to meet with a contractor in the field. I went out with my counterpoint, who is my assistant project manager. As we both walk up to greet him, of course, they look at Bob, my assistant. They shake his hand and start having the conversation right with him. I just smiled and didn't say anything. Again, tried to keep a positive attitude. And Bob just pointed at me and said, "She's the boss." Which made the contractor know right away, hey, you can talk to me, but you're going to clear everything through her. So that was a challenge to break in, to get gain the contractor's trust, have them have an understanding that I knew what I was talking about when it came to trees irrigation, landscaping, and the works that went with it. And that built my confidence, one, but it also made me stand out. They knew that when I came up to the field, I knew what I was talking about. They knew I was going to take pictures of stuff. When we had update meetings, they knew they weren't going to, pull the wool over my eyes, because I knew what was going on. I was out there working those long hours. I was writing the jobs on the weekend, trying to make sure that I knew what was going on to beat these stereotypes and to beat that stigma that, oh, you're a woman in the wrong field kind of scenario. So that helped me a lot. These challenges have changed a little bit over time, but not a lot. So it still seems to go on. But again, I think it comes back to the attitude. You just can't always take everything so serious. And I've learned that in time too.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing. Rebecca, do you want to share your biggest challenge?
Sure. I think honestly, my biggest challenge, I think, has been that because my schedule has been so, sometimes I get to work late because I have a doctor appointment, or I have to leave because of a conference. So, or I have to leave early to take them to sports practice. There's a lot that, because it is so male dominated, that it's just that they're easier to be there from a certain set time. So I really struggle with that. And, I feel like I have to work a little bit harder even after work just to make up for that. And that's been a struggle, but I think just having a good team and working for a company who really understands the balance, I think has been helpful. I've been with jobs who didn't understand that balance, and it was really stressful for me. So
thank you for sharing as well. Doreen, do you want to share next?
Yeah, I think that just something that's probably kind of unique in my experience was just being international when I was looking for my first job. I think that was extremely challenging. It was hard getting kind of the resume past the checkbox that says, do you need sponsorship to work now or in the future? So even though I had just graduated and I was had the ability to work in the US at the time, it was still kind of, there is some level of, whether it's some resume checker or a checkbox that kind of removes you from the very beginning. And then I think what happened to me was, the power of networking. And I think ever since I just take, networking and relationships extremely seriously, because then I started going to construction conferences as part of, as a student, started going to different conferences. And that's where I met the CEO of STV. And then that's how I got my first job, again, with someone taking a chance. And also I think that someone mentioned picking the company and the culture of where you are. I think making sure that matches your own values and that matches your career path, and you're going to find support. With my first job, I didn't do that. With my first job out of undergrad, I was literally I had someone with me at work literally tell me, you're a girl, therefore you don't know how to do engineering. Straight up, and similar to Raquel's experiences of, a guy standing next to me and then someone speaking to them directly and kind of ignoring my existence. So I think we don't have to make it harder sometimes in the beginning. I think we need to, and also by talent being attracted to companies that have the right culture, that have the right role models, I think other companies are going to start recognizing that, what's that other company doing that's attracting all the talent, and kind of cause them to change as well. So I think, the challenge, the biggest challenge for me again was kind of, getting that first chance, getting someone to believe in you in the beginning.
Thank you for sharing as well. Jessica, do you want to talk about your challenge next?
Yes. One of my main challenges coming into a male-dominated industry was just culturally, in my family, the women were told to being quiet, you look prettier. So growing up with that mentality of don't speak up at meetings, or just say yes to everything that you're asked to do, was not going to work in corporate America if I wanted to advance in some sort of career ladder, or even have a healthy life outside of work, that I don't just overexert myself. So something that I had to learn pretty quickly is to speak up for the needs that I have. And I've had really good managers that have listened. And something that I embrace being a female is that we tend to be more empathetic and also emphasize on relationship building, which is definitely the currency in which you get things done. And something that I noticed in one of my projects is that there were female contractors that would take a little bit longer lunch break. And the perception was that, oh, they're just chatting up, or they're just females. They need more time to like socialize and stuff. But that wasn't the case. Like when you really dug into it, it's like those females needed more time to go somewhere so that they can have some sort of like a mother's room, right? So bringing some sort of mother's room to the construction site allowed us to just be more effective with the time, so that they don't have to like go somewhere really far to be able to do something that's necessary for them. So speaking up about what needs you have to go dramatically in terms of instrumental to really allowing you to do your best at work. So that's something that it was really hard for me to build up, but then building that safe zone with your manager, and then also working for companies that embrace diversity and acknowledge that there are going to be different needs that an employee is going to need, allow for employees to work more effectively. So I had to really learn that the hard way, but it's been instrumental in the way I perform, and then also my sanity.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Juanita, do you want to share next?
Yes, thank you, Jackie. So for me, I think one of the biggest things as well with Jessica is learning to have your voice, to speak up, because the type of person I am is that, I'll take a lot of things and I'm like, okay, well, maybe next time. Well, maybe next time. And then sometimes it's like when that opportunity presents itself, you really kind of need to shine. So, at the point of when we kind of had a change, back to where, at the time I became the only person to kind of run it. I think my manager didn't really kind of understand or know on a level of kind of what I knew as far as how to handle it. So, that was kind of something that I struggled with, because I know personally, everything that I know about the system and how to perform the job and how to get it done and how to meet timelines and different things. But since, he wasn't in an everyday kind of meeting or really involved in what I did, it's kind of like, okay, well, we need to find somebody else. And for me, it was more of a, well, I know how to do it. Just give me the chance. Just give me the chance. I'm stepping into this role. Let me show you what I know. So, I think that was kind of the biggest challenge, because, they were, kind of in their mind, I think, it was like, well, we want to make sure we have the best fit. And so with the best fit, I mean, I knew in myself, I know how to get it done. I know how to get the job done. So take a chance on me. That's kind of what it was. So I had to have that voice. I had to speak out. I had to let them know, hey, just kind of sit back, look. If it doesn't work out, okay, then we go a different route. But so far it's been good, but it is finding that voice, and it is overcoming, because I think sometimes they think, okay, because we are women, we might have distractions, we can't get it done, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But then when they really see how much you really know and what you bring to the table, just a different perspective, the plans that you have, I think it works out best for everybody. So yes, very much having that voice.
Well, thank you for sharing. And, it seems that everyone kind of touches on a lot of similarities and different challenges that have kind of a similar root, and, are kind of on this journey of finding solutions to them, which we'll then talk about, the next two, which is navigating that adversity and standing out. And I know you all said speaking out, and, open it up to all of you to kind of speak a little bit more on, finding your voice and making sure that you can make those impacts and believing in yourself. So I don't know if anyone wants to kind of jump in on what they see as a good way to navigate that and to stand out, to put these into kind of action.
Well, for me, it's just getting involved in more different pieces of the process. So it's learning new things to make you stand out. Doing the construction, when I was out in the field working with the project manager, I didn't know what meets and bounds were. So I came home and taught myself what it was and what it meant on drawings. I taught myself with my father's help, who was an engineer, how to read blueprints and drawings, which put me a step above somebody else. When I didn't have a higher level education, I went to school at night and I got certifications in horticulture and arboriculture. I'm now working on my PMP. So I wasn't lucky enough to get higher level master's or PH, but I worked my butt off to get my certifications and the things that I need. When I was in the landscape portion of the job as landscape supervisor, you know, a big part of that was the trees we were planting and getting established in the landscape projects. So I went to school and I got my degree in arboriculture. So I had that with my name. So every time I move along, I try to add something to my bucket of tools, right? I just don't take it for granted. And that's how I've also moved up. Way early in my career, I was working in a park setting. I was riding lawnmowers. I worked with the kid that was spraying the chemicals. I learned how to spray the chemicals. I got my pesticide license. He moved to a different park. I was able to move up. You know, I got in the office. I started learning how to take the reservations for the park. Guess what? Another job came up. I was able to move up again. And I've just done that throughout my career. I learned enough about the nursery. When the girl that was running the nursery full-time left, I was able to take her position. So I've just kept moving myself along. Like I said, I moved out to Los Alamos for a short time to work in a nuclear facility. Was it this far above my head? Yeah, it was, but I did it anyways, just to try to learn something new, to stretch myself a little bit further. Did I always like it? No, but that's sometimes the challenges that we have to do to get there. You know, stand up in the meetings and talk, do stuff like this, get on the panel and get involved. Sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes I want to be lazy and just like, thanks for the offer, Jackie, but not this time, maybe next time. But then I do it anyway. You know, I spoke at eBuilder 2 times. Did I want to? No, I just wanted to go and drink and hang at the pool, but I was a panelist. Again, it helps your networking. It helps you stand out a little bit more. People get to know you and get to know what value you have. Hopefully in the future, I get to meet you guys in another place and time and maybe be able to mentor or had said something to provide guidance to you or the attendees on the phone. Again, that's how you push yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a really great point of, you know, working your way along and believing in yourself, and you can definitely, you know, keep climbing on up. Is there anything else anyone else would like to add?
I think that also kind of recognizing that if you're within an organization and kind of you're looking for opportunities for example, whether it's, you know, education or you know, attending conferences or just like have certain needs just by virtue of being a woman within an organization. I think that recognizing that other people feel the same way and kind of being the first to speak up about that, something that, you know, most of the time is not mentioned in sessions and in panels, as like sexual harassment. And I think that that's something that a lot of women experience in different industries, but people never talk about it. And there's like a huge taboo around it. But I think that just recognizing that a lot of people are experiencing things that are similar to what you're experiencing, and being, you know, trying to pick the right people to trust and to talk to, and to kind of voice your opinion as a group rather than voice your opinion as an individual, whether it's, again, like something educational, something looking to get certifications. A lot of times it's, you know, cheaper and better for the company to have a group of people go through a certain route. And I think it works well in you know, framed as a positive thing for the organization as a whole, as a point of improvement. So I think just being able to voice your opinion to more people, I think, is important.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. You know, it's good for the benefit of the organization as well, you know, not just the individual. So I really appreciate that input as well. But perfect, thank you. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up with back to our 3 main points. So I'll just ask one panelist to kind of wrap it up and give one key takeaway for our audience. So on mentoring, what would be one key takeaway, Juanita?
I think a key takeaway would be, you know, just to find that person for you or persons for you that are going to help, provide that, constructive criticism, as well as, root you on, push you forward, kind of help you establish those goals, and also celebrate with you on any accomplishments and even maybe some things that you need to improve on. It's just to find, that, all in all, just find that person, that works best for you.
Perfect. And balancing work life, one key takeaway, Rebecca?
Yeah, just stay strong with yourself and what you need for you in your personal life, and just communicate really with your company, and also just really try to find a company who also has those same values. It'll, like everyone said, it really does help.
Perfect. And Jessica, first standing out.
So we already naturally stand out as being the minority. So people are going to remember us in a room. So mainly it's just around speaking up. So you already stand out just because you already fall in that demographic, but then also speaking up and then asking questions. And even if somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, something strong saying like, I don't know the answer, but I will get back to you, and then follow through. That really helps build trust, because currency is based on relationships. So the more networking relationships you gain, the more traction you can get on stuff. And then also in terms of speaking up, advocating for other women in the room. Oftentimes our ideas might be brushed off, but then if you're another female in the room as well, try to like advocate for that other female, and say like, well, that was a really good idea, like speak to it more. Or if somebody steals their ideas, like, no, I'm pretty sure Rebecca said this in another way. So just advocating for other women in the room.
Perfect. Is there any other key takeaways just overall from anybody? All right. Well, thank you all so much. Really appreciate all of you being here today. It has been a great conversation, and I'm really excited we got to be a part of it with you. Again, it was sponsored by Avicado, so thank you for Avicado for allowing us to have this conversation. And if you have any ideas for any future conversations, or you just have any questions, you can reach out to hello@avicado.com. So thank you all, and I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jackie.